What's up, everybody? Back with another Bible study. Back in the book of Revelation, and here in Revelation 13. And the dragon stood on the sand of the seashore. Now you see this space here. This first part isn't in a lot of the manuscripts. Then I saw a beast coming up out of the sea. Now, I believe this is what that's speaking of. The Bible defines the Bible. We see here in Revelation 17:15, and he said to me, the waters which you saw, where the harlot sits, are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues. So water represents people, and that's one key to unlocking a lot of the scriptures. Then I saw a beast coming up out of the sea. So this beast is coming up from the people, coming out from among the people, having 10 horns and 7 heads, and on his horns were 10 diadems or crowns. Now we see in Revelation 12, then another sign appeared in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and on his heads were 7 diadems or crowns. So we see here on his heads are the 7 crowns. But when he's cast down and the beast takes over, the crowns are on the horns, because that's who's leading the beast kingdom. And on his heads were blasphemous names. And the beast which I saw was like a leopard, and his feet were like the feet of a bear, and his mouth like the mouth of a lion. Now, this is what we see back in Daniel 7. We see the 4 beasts coming up from the sea. The first was like a lion. The second was like a bear. And the fourth was third was like a leopard with 4 heads. So what we see here, we have the the beasts that we see here. There's a beast kingdom, and then there's the beast character. The beast kingdom has 10 kings, at least in the start. But then the Antichrist, the little horn that comes up among them, is a part of taking 3 of them out, leaving 7 left with him. Having 10 horns and 7 heads. So the 7 heads are the different kingdoms. The lion is the first head. The bear is the second head. And the leopard, that's 4 heads. So that's 6. And the last head is the 4th beast, the 4th kingdom, the new NWO. And we learn in Daniel 7 that the lion represents Babylon, the bear, the Medo-Persian Empire, the leopard, the Grecian Empire, which the 4 heads, Greece, Rome, Britain, and America. And then we have the fourth beast. That's the seventh head of the beast. So that's the 7 heads that we see on this beast here. It's a combination of all these different kingdoms. The final beast kingdom is a combination of all of them, having 10 kings, 10 leaders, at least in the start of it. And the beast which I saw was like a leopard. So this is the beast kingdom, but which is like a leopard, with the feet of a bear. And the feet, we learn in Daniel chapter 7. About this beast. After this I kept looking in the night visions, and behold, a fourth beast, dreadful and terrifying and extremely strong, and it had large iron teeth. There's the mouth of a lion. It devoured and crushed and trampled down the remainder with his feet. There's the feet of the bear. And it was different from all other beasts which were before, and it had 10 horns. While I was contemplating the horns, behold, another horn, a little one, came up among them, and 3 of the first horns were pulled out by the roots before it. And so that's the rise of the Antichrist. So once again, the 7 heads, as Babylon, Medo-Persia, Greece, Rome, Britain, America, and then the fourth beast, which is the coming beast kingdom that's currently taking over as we speak, as I speak. And the dragon gave him his power and his throne and great authority. So that's what we see. Well, that's what we see in a couple places. We know the dragon gives the Antichrist his power, but in chapter 12, 7 heads and 10 horns, and on his heads were the crowns. But then once the beast kingdom takes over, the crowns are on the horns, on the kings. I saw one of his heads as if it had been slain, and his fatal wound was healed. And so this, I believe we see this here in Zechariah 11. Woe to the worthless shepherd who leaves the flock. A sword will be on his arm and on his right eye. His arm will be totally withered, and his right eye will be blind. Now let's talk a little bit more about who the beast is. Let's go over to we learn, where are we at? We learn in Revelation 17. No, actually Revelation 11. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to find it. Lost it. I had it up here. So what we see here in Revelation 11, we see the 2 witnesses. Then there was given me a measuring rod like a staff, and someone said, "Get up and measure the temple of God and the altar and those who worship in it. Leave out the court which is outside the temple, and do not measure it, for it has been given to the nations, and they will tread underfoot the holy city for 42 months. And I will grant authority to my 2 witnesses and they will prophesy for 1260 days clothed in sackcloth. These are the two olive trees and the two lampstands that stand before the Lord of the earth. And if anyone wants to harm them, fire flows out of their mouth and devours their enemies. So if anyone wants to harm them, he must be killed in this way. These have the power to shut up the sky, so the rain will not fall during the days of their prophesying. And they have power over the waters to turn them to blood and to strike the earth with every plague as often as they desire. And when they have finished their testimony, the beast that comes up out of the abyss will make war with them and overcome them and kill them. So the beast comes up out of the abyss, and after the two witnesses have finished their testimony, so the two witnesses have 42 months, then the beast comes up out of the abyss and makes war with them and kills them. And we're going to get back to this here in a minute, but let's go over to see. Sorry, it's not in better order. So we learn the beast that comes up out of the abyss. Well, we learn the beast comes up out of the abyss, comes up out of the bottomless pit. And we see in Revelation 9 when he comes out of the pit. Then the fifth angel sounded, and I saw a star from heaven which had fallen to the earth, and the key of the bottomless pit was given to him. He opened the bottomless pit, and smoke went up out of the pit, like the smoke of a great furnace, and the sun and air were darkened by the smoke of the pit. Then out of the smoke came locusts upon the earth, and power was given to them, as the scorpions of the earth had power. They were told not to hurt the grass of the earth, nor any green thing, nor any tree, but only the men who do not have the seal of God on their foreheads. And they were not permitted to kill anyone, but to torment for 5 months. And their torment was like the torment of a scorpion when it stings a man. And in those days men will seek death and will not find it. They will long to die, and death flees from them. The appearance of the locusts was like horses prepared for battle, and on their heads appeared to be crowns like gold, and their faces were like the faces of men. They had hair like the hair of women, and their teeth were like the teeth of lions. They had breastplates like breastplates of iron, and the sound of their wings was like the sound of chariots, of many horses rushing to battle. They have tails like scorpions and stings, and in their tails is the power to hurt men for 5 months. They have as king over them the angel of the abyss. His name in Hebrew is Abaddon, and in the Greek he has the name Apollyon. So the angel of the abyss, who is king over these locust creatures, who comes out with them when the fifth trumpet is blown, is Apollyon. Now, who is that? So Apollyon, from my understanding, is the sun god from all the different nations. Apollyon is Baal. Apollyon is Osiris. Pretty much all the gods mentioned in the Bible, all the false gods mentioned in the Bible, and a lot of so-called gods that are still worshipped today are Apollyon. And So basically, Apollyon is Nimrod, and Nimrod, if we go back to Genesis 10, let's go back to Genesis 10. So Nimrod was grandson of Noah. The sons of Ham is son of Noah, were Cush, Mitzrayim, Put, and Canaan. Now Cush became the father of Nimrod. He became a mighty one on the earth. He was a mighty hunter before the Lord. Therefore it is said, like Nimrod, a mighty hunter before the Lord. The beginning of his kingdom was Babel, and Erech, and Akkad, and Calneh, in the land of Shinar. From that land he went forth into Assyria, and built Nineveh, and Rehoboth-ir, and Calah. And we know from the story of the Tower of Babel, Nimrod was the one who was king over the earth in those days. And he was the leader during the building of the Tower of Babel, in which they were literally trying to overthrow God. And so when God scattered the people and confounded their languages, the legend of Nimrod went out into all the different societies as gods of different names. From the Egyptian Ra and Osiris as Nimrod, to the gods that the planets are named after: Jupiter, Saturn, Neptune. I'm not sure if Neptune is one. Mars, Mercury, Apollo, Apollyon. So all that is Nimrod. And also, according to archaeological excavations in ancient Mesopotamia, Nimrod seems to be this guy Sargon. Not this not this guy, but this guy on the right, Sargon the Great, Sargon of Akkad. We see right here. And Nimrod, the Bible says he became a mighty hunter on the earth. He became a mighty one. And it's believed he did something, somehow transformed himself into more than just human. Into more of a Nephilim mix. And we see here different carvings and stuff of Nimrod, him holding a lion, so we can see his size here. And you see with this Sargon of Akkad, or Sargon of Akkad. Sargon of Akkad was also known as Sargon the Great, was the first ruler of the Akkadian Empire, known for his conquest of the Sumerian city-states in the 24th to 23rd centuries BC. He's sometimes identified as the first person in recorded history to rule over an empire, which was Nimrod at the Tower of Babel. And as we see, at least from this, he has a deadly head wound. It's believed, I believe in one of the extra biblical books it's mentioned that Esau killed him. But we see here, woe to the worthless shepherd who leaves the flock, a sword will be on his arm and on his right eye. And I believe that's the head wound that he's going to suffer during the tribulation time. His arm will be totally withered and his right eye will be blind. And that's where all this comes from. All the one eye symbolism, the pyramid, the one eye, the eye on the top of the pyramid on the back of the dollar bill. As we see all these celebrities showing who they serve. See, the world is waiting for the beast to come onto the scene. The world is waiting for this character, for Nimrod, to come back. These celebrities, these rulers of this world, worship him and are waiting for him to come back. Other names, Molech, that's another name for Nimrod. So that is who it is. This is the beast. Now there's more to understanding Revelation 13. And we even see this little girl, Greta, doing the one eye symbolism. Eye on the pyramid of the back of the dollar bill. It's who they serve and that's who they're waiting on to return. I saw one of his heads as it had been slain, and his fatal wound was healed. So one of the heads of the beast, and the heads are also the horns when this beast kingdom rises. Because with a kingdom there's a king. And we see in Revelation 17 the 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sits, and then there are 7 kings. The 7 mountains, that's 7 heads. Because mountains are kingdoms. So there's 7 kingdoms and 7 kings. And I'll get back to that a little bit more here in a second. I saw one of his heads as it had been slain, and his fatal wound was healed. And the whole earth was amazed and followed after the beast. So this has got to be this is the Antichrist, who has the fatal head wound. And I'll go into more details here in a second, explaining everything I'm inferring. They worship the dragon because he gave his authority to the beast, and they worship the beast, saying, "Who is like the beast, and who is able to wage war with him?" Because he's gonna raise to life after this deadly head wound. There was given him a mouth speaking arrogant words and blasphemies, and authority to act for 42 months was given to him. So that when he raises, that's when he receives his 42 months. So this deadly head wound happens at the midpoint, and we see that. So it happens at the same time, right around the same time as the two witnesses being killed. So either the two witnesses or someone is going to kill the Antichrist at the midpoint, the beast from the sea. And that's when Apollyon comes out of the pit and brings him back to life, because that's who it is. And I'll just break it down. Here in Revelation 17, what I'm speaking of. The beast which you saw was and is not, and is about to come out of the abyss and go to destruction. And those who dwell on the earth, whose name has not been written from the foundation of the world in the book of life, will wonder when they see the beast, which was and is not and will come, which is Nimrod, because he was, is not, but will come. Here is the mind which has wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sits. So that's the 7 heads. That's the 7 kingdoms, which is Babylon, Medo-Persia, Greece, Rome, Britain, America, and the 4th beast kingdom. 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sits, and there are 7 kings. So the 7, with each kingdom there's a king. So these 7 kings are assigned to these 7 mountains, these 7 kingdoms. So the first of the 7 kings would be Nebuchadnezzar, then probably Cyrus, then Alexander the Great, Caesar, King of England, the President of the United States. So there's 7 kings, 5 have fallen. That would be Nebuchadnezzar. So 7 kings, which 5 have fallen, mean that 5 kingdoms have fallen as well, which is the first 5, which is Babylon, Medo-Persia, Greece, Rome, and Britain. That's the 5. One is, which is America and a leader of America. The other has not yet come, and when he comes, he must remain a little while, and that's the Antichrist. That's the beast and the Antichrist, which is the 7th head. 7th head and the 7th king is it's the beast kingdom and the Antichrist. And here's where it gets really interesting. The beast, which was and is not, is himself also an 8th, and is one of the 7, and he goes to destruction. So Apollyon, the beast that comes out of the bottomless pit, is one of the 7, is an 8th, but is one of the 7, meaning one of the 7 I just mentioned, which I believe he is the 7th. I believe Nimrod is the 7th and the 8th, and I'll show you how that works out here in a second. Let me just continue on in chapter 13. There was given him a mouth speaking arrogant words and blasphemies, and authority to act for 42 months was given to him. So what we have is the beast kingdom takes over at the beginning of the 7 years, and halfway through, that's when the beast character fully takes power. And he opened his mouth in blasphemies against God, to blaspheme his name and his tabernacle, that is, those who dwell in heaven. We are his tabernacle, we're his temple. He dwells in us. And at this point, we will dwell in heaven. It was also given him to make war with the saints and to overcome them. And authority over every tribe and people and tongue and nation was given to him. All who dwell on the earth will worship him. Everyone whose name has not been written from the foundation of the world in the book of life of the Lamb who has been slain. If anyone has an ear, let him hear. All who dwell on the earth will worship him. Because it's gonna get to a point it's gonna get bad. If anyone is destined for captivity, to captivity he goes. If anyone kills with the sword he must be killed. Here is the perseverance and the faith of the saints. To be able to persevere no matter what we have to go through, no matter if we have to be taken captive or if we have to be killed. We endure to the end because that's how we're saved. We can't reject him. We can't deny him. We have to keep the faith until the end. So this is the first beast, which comes up out of the sea, comes from the people. Now, here's the second beast, which I believe is also the first beast, and we're going to see that here in a second. Then I saw another beast coming up out of the earth. And we know the beast comes up out of the earth. It comes up out of the bottomless pit, which is in the earth. Then I saw another beast coming up out of the earth. So I believe this is Apollyon coming up out of the bottomless pit at the midpoint of the tribulation when the fifth trumpet sounds. And he had two horns like a lamb, and he spoke as a dragon. Now, like a lamb, we know Yeshua, Jesus, is the Lamb of God. So I believe, and Jesus has two advents. He came 2,000 years ago, and he's coming back soon. So I believe the two horns like a lamb represent the two appearances of Nimrod. His first time here on this earth, and when he reigns as beast on this earth. So I believe that's the two horns like the lamb, because just like Jesus, he's going to have another chance here. And he spoke as a dragon. So Satan inhabits him. Satan inhabits him and speaks through him. Just like Satan entered Judas. So I believe when the fifth trumpet sounds and Apollyon comes out of the pit with the locust creatures, he's going to go into the first beast, who just had the deadly head wound. And he's going to revive from that deadly head wound, and the whole world is going to be amazed and follow after him and worship the dragon and worship the beast and say, who is like the beast and who is able to wage war with him? And that's when he receives his 42 months. And that's when Apollyon inhabits him, and the dragon inhabits Apollyon that just came out of the pit. Just came out of the pit. He exercises all the authority of the first beast in his presence, and he makes the earth and those who dwell in it to worship the first beast, whose fatal wound was healed. He performs great signs, so that he even makes fire come down out of heaven to the earth in the presence of men. And he deceives those who dwell on the earth because of the signs which it was given him to perform in the presence of the beast, telling those who dwell on the earth to make an image to the beast, who had the wound of the sword and has come to life. So this is after the midpoint. Apollyon, or the second beast, which, a lot of people believe the false prophet is Pope Francis, but I used to think the same, but this is what I'm seeing here. This is my understanding right now on what this is, what God's telling us through this. And he deceives those who dwell on the earth because of the signs that was given him to perform in the presence of the beast, telling those who dwell on the earth to make an image to the beast, who had the wound of the sword and has come to life. And I believe we get a picture of that image of the beast right here in Daniel 3. Nebuchadnezzar the king made an image of gold, the height of which was 60 cubits, and its width 6 cubits. And that's not an accident either. He set it up on the plain of Dura in the province of Babylon. Then Nebuchadnezzar the king sent word to assemble the satraps, the prefects, and the governors, the counselors, the treasurers, the judges, the magistrates, and all the rulers of the provinces, to come down to the dedication of the image that Nebuchadnezzar the king had set up. Then the satraps, the prefects, and the governors, the counselors, the treasurers, judges, the magistrates, and all the rulers of the provinces were assembled for the dedication of the image which Nebuchadnezzar the king had set up. And they stood before the image that Nebuchadnezzar had set up. And I believe this image of the beast is also the abomination of desolation. It's going to be set up in the temple, likely. Then the herald loudly proclaimed, "To you the command is given, O peoples, nations, and men of every language, that at the moment you hear the sound of the horn, flute, lyre, trigon, psaltery, bagpipe, and all types of music, you are to fall down and worship the golden image that Nebuchadnezzar the king has set up. But whoever does not fall down and worship shall immediately be cast in the midst of a furnace of blazing fire." Therefore, at that time, when all the peoples heard the sound of the horn, flute, lyre, trigon, psaltery, bagpipe, and all kinds of music, all the peoples, nations, and men of every language fell down and worshipped the golden image that Nebuchadnezzar the king had set up. So, I believe the image of the beast is going to be something like that, but something more modern. We see in the next sentence, and it was given to him to give breath to the image of the beast. And in the Old Testament, in Hebrew, breath and spirit is it's the same word, I believe. So he give breath to the image of the beast. So the image of the beast is going to come to life. He's going to cause a spirit, and cause the image to come to life, so that the image of the beast would even speak, and cause as many as do not worship the image of the beast to be killed. So I believe the image of the beast is going to be some artificial intelligence, some robot that is brought to life. You see here Anthony Lewandowski, who is at the center of a legal battle between Uber and Google Waymo, has established a non-profit religious corporation called the Way of the Future, according to state filings first uncovered by Wire's back channel. Way of the Future's startling mission to develop and promote the realization of a Godhead based on artificial intelligence, and through understanding and worship of the Godhead, contribute to the betterment of society. So Bennett argues that advanced AI is compatible with Christianity. It's just another technology that humans have created under the guidance from God that can be used for good or evil. I totally think that AI can participate in Christ's redemptive purposes, he said, and by ensuring it is imbued with Christian values. Yeah, this is pretty blasphemous. This is for Istvan, an AI-based God is likely to be more rational and more attractive than current concepts. Quote, the Bible is a sadistic book. And he adds, this God will actually exist and hopefully will do things for us. Wow. Unbelievable. So I believe the image of the beast is going to be something like this, that is brought to life, and it was given to him to give breath to the image of the beast, so the image of the beast would even speak and cause. So the image of the beast is going to cause as many as do not worship the image of the beast to be killed. So the image, somehow this image of the beast, which I believe is going to be some AI robot, is going to be able to tell when people are worshiping and when they're not. And I believe that is where the mark of the beast comes in. And he causes all, the small and the great, and the rich and the poor, and the free men and the slaves, to be given a mark on the right hand or on their forehead. And he provides that no one will be able to buy or sell except the one who has the mark, the name of the beast, or the number of his name. So first off, so the hand and forehead thing, we know the hand is tied to actions, and forehead is tied to our thoughts. So, and we see that the mark of the beast has something to do with obedience and disobedience. Are you gonna obey God, or are you gonna disobey Him and worship the image of the beast and the beast? That's what it really comes down to. And so I believe the mark of the beast will be some type of chip, some type of digital identity. We see right here, Accenture.com, 2020 ID 2020. This is what they're pushing right now: digital identity with blockchain and biometrics. I'm gonna just play a little bit of this.
This is a question that often comes up in our daily lives. Whether we're boarding a plane, checking our bank balance, or paying a utility bill, we regularly have to prove we are who we say we are. However, more than 1 billion people across the globe cannot prove who they are with any certainty. Many of those have never had a form of verifiable ID to begin with, and more than 15 million were victims of identity theft last year alone. With this in mind, we have developed a unique digital identity prototype to modernize identity management for organizations and individuals. Leveraging the power of blockchain and biometrics, the system makes establishing, tracking, and managing digital identities more efficient, user-friendly, secure, and less open to fraud. Let's follow Joseph as he establishes and builds his identity. At an enrollment station, his biometrics are securely captured through his fingerprints, voice, face, or an iris scan. Then several steps are taken to create a unique identifier using multiple security protocols. This identifier is then recorded on the blockchain, which acts as an index with links to all applicable data. This makes it easy to locate, access, and share information without Joseph's personal data being stored on the blockchain. Using an application on his phone, Joseph creates a personal profile that's multi-factored and authentic.
I'm going to skip down here toward something that's said at the end.
Identity data stays put. Efficiency for background checks is greatly improved, as an organization can choose to trust existing attestations instead of repeating the process. For additional security, there's also the option of checking data at source if the user grants permission. Providing a digital identity, a public-private partnership committed to providing a digital identity to the 1.2 billion individuals living without a way to prove their existence. We believe it's the first step towards a digital identity that makes answering the question, "Who are you?" as simple as saying, "I am."
Did you catch that?
2 billion individuals living without a way to prove their existence. We believe it's the first step towards a digital identity that makes answering the question, "Who are you?" as simple as saying, "I am."
One more
To
time.
prove their existence. We believe it's the first step towards a digital identity that makes answering the question, "Who are you?" as simple as saying, "I am."
Wow. Where do we see I am? Exodus 3. Then Moses said to God, "Behold, I am going to the sons of Israel, and will say to them, The God of your fathers has sent me to you. Now they may say to me, What is his name? What shall I say to them?" God said to Moses, "I am who I am." And he said, Thus you shall say to the sons of Israel, I am has sent me to you. God is I am. And they're saying here,
"Who are you?"
that with this digital identity, we're going to be able to answer the question, who are you? Who am I? As I am. As God. And that's the same thing we see back in Genesis. Genesis 3. Now the serpent was more crafty than any beast of the field which the Lord God had made. And he said to the woman, Indeed, has God said, You shall not eat from any tree of the garden? The woman said to the serpent, From the fruit of the trees of the garden we may eat. But from the fruit of the tree which is in the middle of the garden, God has said, You shall not eat from it or touch it, or you will die. The serpent said to the woman, You surely will not die. For God knows that in the day that you eat from it, your eyes will be open, and you will be like God. And that is what they're pushing. That is what all this is going to combine to. It's going to be a combination of a digital identity with biometrics, which is connected to blockchain, which is a monetary system, which is connected to the AI, to the 5G. The microchips are going to be connected to the 5G networks, all the 5G towers that are everywhere. And they even admitted that that's what the 5G towers are going to be used for connecting RFID chips. But this is the same stuff from the beginning. So what did Satan try to do from the beginning? He told Adam and Eve, disobey God, listen to me, and you'll be like God. He promised they would be like God. And that's what they're beginning to promise with this stuff. And what else did Satan do? He tried to corrupt the bloodlines, and that's where we get all the giants from. He tried to corrupt the bloodlines so the Messiah wouldn't be able to be born. And I believe this isn't only going to be ID. I believe it's actually going to change people's DNA, therefore making them forever unredeemable, because salvation is only for humans. I believe we see that in Revelation 8. Here in Revelation 8, the third trumpet, the third angel sounded, and a great star fell from heaven, burning like a torch, and it fell on a third of the rivers and on the springs of waters. And remember, the water represents people. So this star falling from heaven is Satan. The name of the star is called Wormwood, and a third of the waters became wormwood. So a third of the people became Nephilim, became part Satan. And that's why you can't be saved after the mark of the beast, because you're not even human anymore. But you'll be like a superhero, like they're promising, like they're gonna promise with these RFID chips. And a third of the waters became wormwood, and many men died from the waters because they were made bitter. We see here Microsoft co-founder Bill Gates will launch human implantable capsules that have digital certificates which can show who has been tested for the coronavirus and who has been vaccinated against it. The 64-year-old tech mogul, and currently the second richest person in the world, revealed this yesterday during a Reddit Ask Me Anything session while answering questions on the COVID-19 coronavirus pandemic. Gates was responding to a question on how businesses will be able to operate while maintaining social distancing and said, "Eventually, we will have some digital certificates to show who is recovered or been tested, or when we have a vaccine, who has received it." So we see the beginnings of all this. This in itself isn't going to be the mark of the beast, because in the mark of the beast it comes, at least for the way I see it, comes halfway through. Because it involves the image of the beast and the worship of the image of the beast. And he causes all, the small and the great, the rich and the poor, and the free men and the slaves, to be given a mark on the right hand or on their forehead. And he provides that no one will be able to buy or sell except the one who has the mark, either the name of the beast or the number of his name. And the name of the beast, so the name is a mark. I mean, the name, well, here is wisdom. Let him who has understanding calculate the number of the beast, for the number is that of a man, and his number is 666. So this goes back to Solomon. And first, let me go over here to, had another article up. One second. So I believe the mark in the hand is going to be a RFID chip, as we see here. But the mark on the forehead, maybe this Neuralink thing. Tesla founder Elon Musk has launched tech startup Neuralink to build implants that connect human brains with computer interfaces via artificial intelligence. These threads detect and record electrical signals in the brain and transmit this information outside the body. So the mark in the forehead, if it's something like this, the threads detect and record electrical signals in the brain and transmit this information outside the body. Two, in this case of the beast, in the image of the beast, and transmit this information outside the body to the image of the beast, and that's how the image of the beast knows that this person isn't worshiping. Because it's going to be what happened before, what happened again. It's going to be just like with Nebuchadnezzar. It's going to be a certain time of the day or something that everybody's going to have to worship. And if you're not doing your worship, if you're not worshiping the image of the beast and the dragon, then the image of the beast is going to find you out, because it's all connected through this. And also with the RFID chips, they connect to your central nervous system, and so even with those, they will be able to tell, like, if you're worshiping or not. And it was given him to give breath to the image of the beast, so that the image of the beast would even speak and cause as many as do not worship the image of the beast to be killed. And he causes all, the small and the great, the rich and the poor, the free men and the slaves, to be given a mark on the right hand or on the forehead. So when it comes down to so I was looking at this last line. And it says, so it says, here is wisdom. Let him who has understanding. And where do we hear about wisdom and understanding? Solomon. And there's some interesting things, the whole Solomon thing. So that's the only other place we see in the Bible 666. Well, I think there's one other place. There's 3 other mentions of 666 in the Bible, and 2 of them have to do with Solomon. And we see here in 1 Kings, this is when the Queen of Sheba heard of the fame of Solomon, and she came. And it says over and over, when the Queen of Sheba perceived all the wisdom of Solomon, you exceed in wisdom and prosperity. And this, so after this, so it says she gave to the king 120 talents of gold and a very great amount of spices and precious stones. Also the ships of Hiram brought gold from Ophir, and the king made, so he's buying all this stuff. And basically in Deuteronomy 17, if we look back at the law for kings in Deuteronomy 17, it prohibits the king from multiplying horses, chariots, wives, and wealth. And that's what he did. And that's when he fell. That's when he started multiplying his gold, 666 talents a year. And that's when he turned away. In the next chapter, in chapter in 2 Kings 11, is when he started falling away. Now King Solomon loved many foreign women along with the daughter of Pharaoh, and this is when he fell away. Now the Lord was angry with Solomon because his heart was turned away from God after he had appeared to him twice. And also, see, Solomon is a type and shadow here. So this says all you have to do is count the first instance of a name of each person mentioned in Scripture. 1 Adam, 2 Eve, 3 Cain, and on, and until you come to the 666 person mentioned in the Bible, and it's Solomon. So we get a picture of that as well. I don't really have too much more else to say about the number of the beast or the name of the beast, except the name of the beast is his many names, because it's the sun god of all the different nations. But I want to go back real quick to Revelation 17 real quick and talk about this one more time. So here's the mind which has wisdom. The 7 heads are the 7 mountains on which the woman sits. So that's the 7 kingdoms. That's, as I mentioned, Babylon through the final beast kingdom. And it says, and there's 7 kings, 5 have fallen. One is, which is, I used to say Donald Trump is the 7th king of Revelation, but I believe he's actually the 6th king of Revelation. One is, the other has not yet come, but when he comes, he must remain a little while, and that's the little horn. That's the first beast here of Revelation. And the beast which was and is not, and we know that's Apollyon, which comes out of the pit, which is the sun god of all the different nations. That's why everyone in the world, along with him being brought back to life, everyone in the world is going to worship him, because he is their God, and he's the whole beast behind the whole all the different beast kingdoms. All goes back to matter of fact, there's more things with Solomon. That's where Freemasonry starts and everything with Solomon. But there's a lot more to it that I'm gonna get to in Revelation chapter 17 when I get there. But the beast is Nimrod, who is coming back, and who is the god of all these other nations, and that's who's going to be revived. And what the mystery here is, and this is, I could be looking at this wrong, but this is what I'm seeing. There are 7 kings, which are, I could be looking at the wrong 7 kings, but there are 7 kings, which I believe are the kings of these 7 kingdoms, which, the 7 kingdoms are the 7 heads and the 7 mountains. So I believe the 7 kings would be the leader of Babylon, the leader of Persia, the leader of Greece, the leader of Rome, leader of Britain, that's 5. The leader of America, that's 6, the one that is. And the one that has not yet come, that's the Antichrist, that's a little horn, is the one that has not yet come, and when he comes, he must remain a little while, which is the tribulation time. The beast which was and is not is himself also an 8th, and is one of the 7. And like I said, I could be looking at this wrong, but I believe this is saying that the 8th, the beast which was and is not, that's which we know that's the one that comes out of the pit, is the 8th. And when he comes out of the pit, the 7th is already ruling. The 7th is the beast that comes out of the sea. The 8th is the beast that comes out of the earth, out of the bottomless pit, but is also one of the 7. So I believe the little horn, the Antichrist, actually is Nimrod in some way, whether he's a clone or his DNA was used in him, or whether it's something to do with the microchips and how they can change your DNA. I believe in some way this beast which comes out of the sea, which is the little horn, is Nimrod. But he's a man that's alive, that's on the scene today. And when he receives his deadly head wound at around the midpoint of the tribulation, that's when the fifth trumpet sounds. The pit is opened up, and Apollyon enters. The Antichrist enters the little horn and brings him back to life, and the dragon enters Apollyon. This is what I'm seeing. This is what I this is what I see in here. Like I said, I could be looking at some of this wrong, but this is what I believe God has showed me throughout all my studies I've been doing, and there's still a whole lot more more to understand. But so just again, we have the beast kingdom, which rises at the beginning of the tribulation, and we learn in Revelation 17 the ten horns which you saw are 10 kings who have not yet received a kingdom, but who for 1 hour will receive authority as kings along with the beast. So that's the full 7 years, and the Church of Philadelphia was also promised to be get from this hour, the full hour. And then we see the half an hour of silence in Revelation 8. And I believe the silence is after the first 4 trumpets. So we have the first 4 trumpets right here, and then we have the break. And then I looked and I heard an eagle fly in mid-heaven saying with a loud voice, "Woe, woe, woe to those who dwell on the earth, because of the remaining blast of the trumpet of the 3 angels who are about to sound." So that's where we have our break, and at the midpoint it picks back up with the 5th trumpet, which is the releasing of the locust creatures and everything else, Apollyon, out of the bottomless pit. And that's when all that goes down. And oh yeah, so who is it? So who are these characters? You can go to my Daniel 8 video if you want to I'll just look up some. I believe, now I could be wrong with some of these 10 kings, but I believe what we see, because we learned in Daniel 7, when we go down toward the bottom, said, "These great beasts which are 4 in number are 4 kings who will arise from the earth." So we know the beast is like a leopard with the feet of a bear, mouth of a lion. So I believe the lion, and you can go to my Daniel 7 Bible study and my Daniel 8 Bible study to get more details on what I'm speaking of right here. But I believe the lion is this guy. I believe this is one of the 10 kings. I believe another one is, I believe this is the bear. And we get the 4 heads of the leopard, because in Because in Daniel 8, in Daniel 7 as well, but we know from Daniel 8 that as soon as he was mighty, the large horn was broken. This is the leader of the Grecian kingdom, of the leopard. This is the head of the leopard. So as soon as he was mighty, the large horn was broken, and in its place came up 4 conspicuous horns toward the 4 winds of heaven. So that's the 4 heads of the leopard. We see the beast was like a leopard. So the leopard has the 4 heads, plus the lion and the bear. So we have the lion, the bear, the 4 heads of the leopard, which I don't know who's going to be. I'll guess a couple. This would be a guess, and this is I'm choosing these out of based on Western empires, out of the Grecian kingdom. Potentially him. I believe he's one. And potentially then we have one more, which I'm just guessing on these. Maybe him, maybe him. And I also believe one of the 7, or one of the, so that would be 6 of them. So that's what it. So actually, that's what it will be. And I had in mind another one as well. I believe he may be one. But and also I believe Daniel 8 gives us the fall of the 3 kings, because in Daniel 7, we learn, while I was contemplating the horns, behold, another horn, a little one, came up among them, and 3 of the first horns were pulled out by the roots before it. So that's the rise of the Antichrist. And 3 fall before it I believe at the beginning of the day of the Lord. And I believe we're given who that is in Daniel 8, which is the leaders of Persia, which is this guy, and this guy. So that means if that's correct, that's the fall, that we see the fall of those 3 leaders, and I believe it is. So I believe toward the beginning of the day of the Lord, within a month of the beginning of the day of the Lord, these 2 fall, and I believe this is going to be very soon. And at the beginning of the day of the Lord, I believe this guy falls with this nation, and we we learn from Daniel chapter 8, when referring to this guy, this where are we at? Let's see. So when he falls, but as soon as he was mighty, the large horn was broken, and in his place there came up 4 conspicuous horns toward the 4 winds of heaven. Now, I'm going to say one more thing before I end this. I'm just looking for it. Okay, yeah, right here. So, in verse 21, it says the shaggy goat represents the kingdom of Greece, which is, we know, the leopard, and the current head of the leopard is America. So the shaggy goat represents America, and the large horn that is between his eyes is the first king. Now, I kind of wondered for a while exactly what this meant, that he's the first king. But I believe it means he's the first leader of this beast kingdom. He's one of the 10 kings, and he's the leader of them right now. I believe that's what that's saying, that he's the first king of the beast. But when he falls, that's when the Antichrist rises. And the deadly head wound isn't until halfway through. Oh, I almost forgot. So who is the little horn? Who is the beast that comes up out of the sea? That is also Apollyon. I don't know 100%, but I had a particular individual in mind, and I was praying about it and thinking about it, and was kind of led in another direction. So I was thinking Jared Kushner, but I was kind of led in another direction toward maybe Obama. But I had a dream the other night, and I don't hardly ever have dreams, or not that I remember anyway. And I had a dream the other night, and I don't remember much of it. And I believe I mentioned to somebody, like, do you think it's Obama, or you think it's so and so? And so basically all I remember from the dream is this person, or whoever it was, told me in my dream that it's him. Whether that was God telling me in the dream, or whether it was just because it was on my mind, I don't know 100%. But this is who I believe it is. I could be wrong, but this is who I believe it is. And we have some of the descriptions, some of the Antichrist descriptions. I think some of them were mentioned on here. Said fierce features, learn we learn the Antichrist comes on the scene peaceably and destroys many by peace. And we know he has a look more. Let me look up the. Let me look this up in. Let's see. Said he had look greater, more stout. I'm trying to. Hold on. Sorry, let me find this. Daniel 7:20. Look more. The KJV translated it more stout. Whose appearance was greater. His appearance was great. I believe there's another scripture that mentions him being taller, being larger in appearance than his fellows, and I don't know if we're gonna see from any of these pictures, but he's a pretty tall dude from the looks of it, taller than a lot of these people. You know, I can see the resemblance from if he gained weight and grew a beard. But this is I could be wrong. This is who I think it is though. Because the Antichrist comes from Babylon. When the Grecian kingdom falls, he rises up from the Grecian kingdom. He's Jewish. Let me just Google something real quick. I should have looked this up beforehand. I just want to. Because I know there's some other descriptions of him. But I can't think of them off the top of my head, and I didn't look them up beforehand. But this video is already long enough. This is my understanding of the beast and how this all goes down on the day of the Lord. There's the beast kingdom, then there's the beast character. And there's two beast characters. One comes up out of the bottomless pit at the halfway point, and another one gains power through the first 3.5 years, then suffers a deadly head wound and is raised back to life. So Apollyon, the beast that comes up out of the pit, is actually the false prophet. This is my understanding of it. So hopefully this was edifying. Hopefully you were able to gain some understanding from this, and I pray that it's correct, because I don't want to be teaching anything out of the Word of God wrong. But thanks for watching, guys. If you don't have a relationship with God, if you don't have a relationship with Jesus Christ, Yeshua HaMashiach, please call out to him today. We're almost out of time. We're right at the point. This beast is already rising. This beast's kingdom is already rising. We're almost there. So repent, repent, repent. Believe in the gospel. Love you guys. Thank you guys. Shalom.